Okay. Any other comments or questions before we move on? Okay, my friends, we will move on with our class. Last week and this week we're going over some things that are not in the book but related to the molecular system, because what we're talking about, what we're putting a lot of focus on is the number 7, because we have 7 major centers in our body, and these 7 major centers are reflected just all over the universe, from the atom, where you have 7 electron shells, to the 7 kingdoms, the 7 centers in humanity, 7 spirits before the throne. This number just keeps repeating itself. So we're going to go over these. Now, last week we talked about the 7 centers in our bodies, and how these are influencing us, how they have petals in them, which opens up one by one and releases different energies. And this idea of the centers appears in every life form. And remember that life is more than just animals and humans that move around. Life is in everything. Each planet out there that you see is actually a great life. Each star that you see, each atom that you see has life within it. So he's talking about centers of the nations, and or DK does. And here's what he says about them. He says, nations, for instance, have 7 centers, as have all forms of existence, from human, animal, and upwards. And it is interesting to study to discover these centers and note the type of energy which flows through them. In connection with the United States of America, he says, Chicago is a solar plexus center. New York is the throat center, and Washington, D.C., the head center. The heart center, he says, is Los Angeles. He says the heart center of Germany is Munich, and the head center is Nuremberg, whilst Berlin is the throat center. London, he says, is, of course, the heart center for Great Britain, and temporarily also the head center, though this will not always be the case. While Ottawa is the throat center, and Sydney is the solar plexus center of the British Empire. So it's interesting. He doesn't make it complete, though. Let's pick just the United States. In the United States, he gives 4 of the centers, 4 of the 7. The head center of Washington, D.C., that makes sense because that's Ray 1. That's like the controlling energy. Throat center, New York, that makes sense. Heart center, Los Angeles, also that's where Hollywood is. And, you know, you have the song, You Gotta Have Heart, is kind of a symbol of that. The solar plexus, Chicago, that makes sense also. It's strong feeling, emotional, idealistic energy there. So we have several centers he leaves out, which are the ajna, the sacral, and the base. Got any idea what the sacral might be? Now, the sacral, remember, governs sex, and sex governs physical creation. So what cities or centers, what part of the United States generates a lot of physical creation?
How about
New Orleans?
Las Vegas?
Las Vegas, yeah, New Orleans. Houston.
Physical distribution in Las Vegas, but not creation. Yeah.
I go, but I'm cheating because I kind of remember what you said about it. As I remember, you had said that it was Detroit, but then maybe it had moved recently.
Yeah, right. I don't remember ever teaching that, but you're exactly right. Detroit was definitely it in like the 40s, 50s, and 60s, because that was a center of physical creation that was recognized all over the world. But since that time, it's kind of dissipated. So we have automobile manufacturing all over the place. But where is the center right now? Where?
I would say Miami.
Where?
Miami.
Where?
Miami.
Miami?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, what are they creating?
You just actually they kind of like
Beautiful women. We got to create beautiful women down there in Miami.
yeah, freedom.
Yeah.
Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Creating
Okay, Curtis hit the nail on the head. San Francisco area, Silicon Valley. We also have Elon Musk there creating Tesla motors. So even a lot of manufacturing of automobiles is moved to Silicon Valley. The manufacturing of all the foundation of the computer business, and that's the biggest center of creation right now is around the computer systems and automated cars and solar panels and things like this. We have a lot of the foundation for physical creation for our country laid in Silicon Valley. So my best guess is that would be the sacral center. Okay, now the base of the spine. The base of the spine is like the source of life. Now, I would suggest this has changed too. It was Philadelphia. Back when everybody was patriotic and recognized the Constitution was really great, the United States was great and all this, we recognize the foundation of the country as being extremely something we revere, and this has kind of gone by the wayside somewhat and been replaced by something else. I would submit, I don't think anyone would guess this, but I would submit that it's been replaced by Seattle. And in Seattle is where, Seattle area is where Amazon and Microsoft are. And Amazon and Microsoft are the foundation of computer and industry, almost to the sake where they both have monopolies on these things. So it's almost the source, the foundation of our lifeblood right now.
You also have Boeing.
Yeah, and Boeing, that's a good point. So we have a foundation there that's very powerful in the Seattle area. So I would say that's the base has moved from Philadelphia, where a lot of school kids grow up, don't even know anything about Philadelphia. But they know about Amazon and they know about Microsoft and Boeing. So that's a good point. Now the Ajna Center, I would maintain that the Ajna Center doesn't exist because the Ajna Center is that center which sees on a spiritual level that's higher than the average people see, and they bring the spiritual essence down to the average people. Now, the center that would like to lay claim to that is Salt Lake, because they're the one major city in the country that was built by a religion and for spiritual purposes. But I don't see a lot of spiritual inspiration that people are glomming onto that's coming out of Salt Lake. The Vatican would like to be the third eye, the Ajna Center for the whole world, but you know, they're not that inspiring either. Jerusalem would like to lay claim to it, but you know, there's not a lot of light coming out of there either. So I would maintain that the Ajna Center is dormant right now for this country and probably the world. But when it will be activated will be when there's a gathering of lights, when the lights gather and they build a city which will be a light to the world. That will happen someday. How far in the future that is, I would like to live to see it. But,
I'd like to suggest that we consider Ojai, California. Ojai, California has every center of any spiritual group we know there. And one time, Madame Blavatsky said she woke up from a trance with the words Ojai on her breath, and she didn't know where it was.
Really? That's funny.
But I've been to Ojai, California, and they have every center for these things that we think to be very spiritual.
Well, it could be at least a foreshadowing of that, isn't it? That's for sure. Curtis, didn't you spend some time in Ojai?
A lot of time in Ojai. They have Meditation Mountain. They have Crotona Institute. They study Alice Bailey, Blavatsky.
Krishnamurti.
Krishnamurti has popularized Ojai. A lot of enlightened people, masters even, have attended seminars, created seminars in Ojai.
Yeah. Okay, well,
Places in Colorado I found were pretty inspirational a while back. Colorado.
where in Colorado?
I like Boulder, Colorado, and Colorado Springs and all that. It's like there was a time in my 20s that was a very inspirational part of the world for me.
Yeah, I spent some time around there too, and Aspen area, Colorado Springs, it's all really got nice vibes down there. I liked it, but
I don't know what's going on in Ojai now. I think Boise, Idaho is bringing in a lot of spiritual energy, a lot of.
yeah, well, let's hope so. Yeah. Now, when the Ajna Center is developed in fullness, it will be a light to the entire world. So it'll be like Ojai is probably could be a subtle representation of it, but its influence, I'm not sure if it's strong enough influence to be a fully activated Ajna Center. But you look at like Microsoft and Amazon, that's very powerful. It's influences the whole country very strongly. And this the Ajna Center, when it's fully developed, will be a very powerful influence, but there's foreshadowings before a center reaches its fullness, and Ojai could definitely be a foreshadowing.
Well, it was hot in the 80s, Ojai. There were a lot of things going on in the 70s, 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening there now.
Yeah, haven't heard a lot about it, except heard you mention it a number of times. I can't remember if I've been actually there or not. What's it next to? What's it close to?
Oh,
33 miles north of Ventura,
Ventura, yeah.
inland.
Yeah, is it right by the sea or the ocean?
No.
Yeah, it's in about 20, 30 miles
Is it? Oh, okay.
upward on in the mountain area.
Yeah.
Place to visit.
Wonder if they're having any protests in that neck of the woods there. Okay. Anyway, it's interesting to speculate on these the centers for the country. Now, we also have 7 kingdoms on the planet. What's the first kingdom?
Mineral.
Mineral kingdom. And that is pretty much relates to the base of the spine, and it's on rays 7 and sometimes 1, depending on perspective. The next kingdom up is which one?
The vegetable kingdom.
Right, the vegetable kingdom, you'd think that would be associated with the next center up, but he doesn't necessarily do that. He says he kind of links it to the heart. Now, what's interesting is the hierarchy is normally linked to the heart, but he links centers in different ways depending on how you're looking at it. And so anyway, he's really unclear as to where the vegetable kingdom is, but I would say from one perspective, it would be the next one up to the sacral center. Now the animal The animal is very attached to the solar plexus. They think with their solar plexus center, and that would be the logical assumption on that. Now, the human is the fourth kingdom up.
I think that'd be the heart center.
Um, Sometimes he relates it to the heart center depending on your perspective, but it's normally related to another center. What center is that?
Throat center.
Throat center, right. Humanity is a throat center because we are in charge of creating physical forms. The throat center is governed by Ray 3, which is intelligence and matter. And so we take matter and we manipulate it like no other kingdom has ever done. We go build big buildings and bridges and transportation systems, and a lot of people complain we do too much, take away too much of the vegetation and so on. But he says eventually we're going to learn our lessons and be good gardeners of this earth. So we will eventually turn this into paradise, but in the process, we'll make quite a few mistakes, and a lot of people think that we're just a big virus on the earth and humanity shouldn't even be here, is the way
That.
some environmentalists think about it. But according to DK, we're going to learn our lessons and eventually make this into a nice place where we're a lot more responsible than we are today. Okay, the next kingdom up is the spiritual hierarchy of the planet. And what center are they related to?
Head center.
Well, you would think so.
I think so.
The hierarchy is the heart center. It's pretty solid on that, and that's Ray 2. So that's love, wisdom. So there, the Christ and the Buddha are representative of Ray 2, the head people on this ray, and they project love and wisdom to all the people of the earth. And so the purpose of the hierarchy is to influence humanity to adopt the powers and energies of love and wisdom. He says the hierarchy will eventually move to the head center when they evolve, and they will eventually merge with Shambhala. Now, let's skip to the seventh, the head center. The head center is representative of who is representative of the head center?
Shambhala.
Shambhala, right. And what ray is that, Ed?
First ray.
Right, that'd be first ray, the ray of power. So Shambhala is the one that has willpower and purpose and transmutes it to the hierarchy. And the hierarchy incorporates that higher will into love, wisdom, and inspires different people here upon the earth, sending out messages through meditation to influence people like Moshe over here, or Relina, or different people in the group, maybe, you never know. Okay, now we have the sixth center. The sixth center is a very mysterious one in the fact that the sixth center is a bridge center. In other words, those in the sixth center take from a higher center and take the energies and intelligence and transmute it to the lower centers. Okay, and so this is interesting, and the fact that who are these people that are the ones that take from the higher and give to the lower?
The Nirmanakaya.
That's one of them. The Nirmanakayas are have a liaison between Shambhala and the hierarchy. They go back and forth between, and what the most famous Nirmanakaya is the Buddha. He's become a Nirmanakaya, and he goes between Shambhala and the hierarchy and transmits intelligence and purpose and between these two kingdoms. Because Shambhala is such a high vibration that the hierarchy just themselves just can't go visit it whenever they want. They have to pick up impressions from it. The hierarchy's relation to Shambhala is similar to our relation to the hierarchy. Now, Ed over here would love to just go be able to visit with Kuthumi and Dwal Kul, but it's just kind of difficult to do unless you really focus and go there in a spirit or something. So the same thing with the hierarchy. So there are certain individuals that are able to do this, and Buddha is one, and he goes back and forth between the two kingdoms to transmit intelligence. And so he is one of the three aspects of the Ajna kingdom for the planet. Who are the representatives of the Ajna kingdom among physical humanity?
Would that be Dian Chohans?
No, they're way up there, the Dayan Choans. We're talking about people like you and me. Humans, mortal humans. Who are the mortal humans that are...
The Pleiadians, JJ.
What?
The Pleiadians.
How did you guess?
Their initials are the NGSS.
Okay.
People in the media.
Okay, there's two representatives of among mortal humans of the lower aspect of the Ajna center of the whole planet, and these are called the first group are the innovators of the world, like the scientists, writers, intelligent thinkers, and these sometimes pick up inspiration from the hierarchy and put them down and transmit them, like say Elon Musk could be one of these guys, for instance, or Steve Jobs was probably one of these guys, okay? The upper part, and they are representative of the lower aspect of the Ajna center here on the planet. The higher aspect are the spiritual people that realize that there is a plan and they're trying to pick up on the plan and promote it, promote the great invocation, for instance, people that are trying to make the great invocation materialize. These are called the new group of world servers, and they are the higher aspect of the Ajna center that is among us humans. So we have these two aspects. The first are the innovative people that really don't know they're connected to any hierarchy, but do receive some impressions. The second, the higher aspect, are people that are aware of the hierarchy and are trying to implement the plan. Okay, then the next step up, the middle of the section, is the Nirmanakayas that Ed mentioned that we already discussed. But then there's also a higher group that's part of the Ajna center of the planet. Anybody got any idea who this is? And who would they be mediating between? We have humanity in the hierarchy, first step, the hierarchy in Shambhala. So the next step would be Shambhala and something else. What's that something else?
I forget the name if it was mentioned, but it's like other planets in the system or the solar logos.
Right, it'd be places higher than Shambhala. It could be the solar logos or extraplanetary sources also, like Sirius and different places, okay? So who are the people that transmit higher intelligence from extraplanetary sources to Shambhala?
The avatar of synthesis.
Well, yeah, he could be one of them. There's three in particular. which are called, and I'll bet you Ed can probably tell us, the three Buddhas of what?
Buddhas of compassion.
Not quite.
Activity.
Activity, that's right. Three Buddhas of activity. What I found interesting, and it kind of blew me away when I first read this, is that the Tibetan says that the three Buddhas of activity are actually more evolved than the planetary logos in the ancient days is, than Sanat Kumara. They're actually more ancient. They evolved in a solar system even beyond, so they started out a solar system beyond what Sanat Kumara did. And they're sent here to be counselors for him. And they're probably not here all the time, but they go back and forth, and they are able to travel between here and different solar systems and bring intelligence for Sanat Kumara.
The three Kamaras.
Now, he says, on the other hand, the three Kamaras are here, even though they're very ancient. He says they have things to learn from Sanat Kumara that they were somewhat deficient in their evolution. So they're picking up things to help them in their spiritual evolution. But they're even, yeah, it's interesting. They're even more ancient than the Lord of the World is. So that's pretty interesting. So you have three groups making the Ajna Center for the planet. You have a new group of world servers and enlightened innovators. You have the Nirmanakayas, and you have the three Buddhas of activity. Now, in addition to the three Buddhas of activity, there are other, quite a few different inhabitants of Shambhala, and DK doesn't go into details about them all, but he hints that there are a number of them that are very evolved that act kind of like the Buddhas of activity does, that bring intelligence from different systems. Okay, now, any comments or questions on that before we move on?
Yeah, in alignment with Dwal Kul being a member of the Heart Center or the second ray, if you look at his symbol,
Yeah.
I think Greg brought this up one time. The X marks the spot on the second ray of love wisdom where he sees himself.
Yeah, I don't remember Greg saying that. I remember I thought I'd come up with that, but maybe somebody else mentioned it first. I don't remember.
Greg come up with that, and you thought that was one of the smartest revelations he ever got, which is probably true.
Well, that symbol is also the three letters LUX, lux, which is light.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of symbolism in that. Matter of fact, we had talked about that quite a bit a while back, and it's, yeah, that X representing DK himself.
Right.
That's a point. I don't think Lucis Trust has ever come up with that point. Now,
Yeah.
in the various kingdoms themselves, they're divided into 7 sections also. He doesn't give us a lot of detail, but let me see here.
We have the 7 root races of the present humanity.
Oh, my notes were kind of screwed up. I wrote animal and I meant mineral, so it kind of threw me for a loop here. Okay, let's just go through one of them. It'll be maybe too much to go through each one, but each one of the kingdoms has 7 centers. Now think, what would be the base of the spine of the mineral kingdom? Where would that be? The source of life for the whole that's supplied by the mineral kingdom.
Quartz, silica.
You getting close?
Uh,
The atom.
That I believe would be the, well, atoms are part of all the mineral kingdom. I would say it's the center of the earth. The center of the earth is the source of heat for the whole planet that keeps the whole planet alive. It's like the, so that's, and the base of the spine is the source of life, where the foundation of life exists for each individual. So that would be my guess on there. We'll go with that unless somebody has a better idea. Okay, so the sacral center. What would be the sacral center of the mineral kingdom? Sacral center creates living forms. So my guess, that would be the outer part of the planet, including the topsoil and the minerals underneath, and they generate life, and they create life in physical form. So the sacral center creates physical form. So the minerals on the topsoil of the planet create physical form. That would be my guess on that.
confused with nitrogen and hydrogen.
Yeah, we put in some good fertilizer. Okay. Solar plexus center, that's related to emotion. Can you, what part of the planet do you think that would be? What element, what substance is related, symbolic of emotion?
Flowers.
What?
Flowers. With the
Flowers?
being part.
Well, flowers certainly stimulates emotion. There's a certain substance that,
The atmosphere.
okay.
Atmosphere.
What it is, the substance is most familiar to, is related to emotion in the ancient wisdom is water. And where do we find the most water?
The oceans.
Right. So my guess would be the oceans represent the solar plexus part of the mineral kingdom. Okay. Now we get to the heart. What would be the heart?
Basalt. Lifeblood.
Salt, yeah.
Basalt. Mineral basalt.
I don't know if that's kind of specialized. That may be part of it.
That's the lifeblood. The lava is basalt.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good guess. My guess here is it would be all elements that are not metallic or gaseous would be the heart, because they're the ones that kind of generate life. And the throat.
Sulfur.
Anybody got any other ideas on that?
Like sulfur would be a mineral. It's not gaseous or metallic.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
Create-
carbon.
Carbon.
Yeah, a lot of things that create life. Now, the throat center, I would say would be the metals, because the throat is a creative center, and we use the metals to create just about everything that we manufacture. Some type of metal is involved there. That would be my guess on the throat center.
Gold. Money talks.
Yeah, that could be part of the throat center too. Yeah, all that's a metal, iron, steel, silver. All these, I would guess they compose the throat center.
And the conductor, they conduct energy in a way that has to do with communication. Throat center.
And the Ajna center, Curtis guessed something that was Ajna center a while back. What do you think that would be? You said it a while back?
Oh, you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh.
You were guessing for the...
What, sulfur? Or,
no, earlier.
I don't remember.
Crystal. Crystal, remember you said crystals?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, what's interesting about crystals is When they read your fortune, they use a what?
Quartz crystal.
Crystal ball. Okay. So crystal kind of is representative of the Ajna Center, crystal and precious gems, because a lot of people feel they have kind of almost magical powers to enhance your ability to see in higher and lower kingdoms. So I think that's a good guess.
Well, silica is used in all your computers, what's called Silicon Valley, and that's a semiconductor that helps relay impulses, messages.
Yeah, and the internet, and it's almost magical too compared to the old days. The last center, what could be the crown center? Now, keep in mind the crown center is just above the head. So where is there a center on the earth that's just above the earth?
What, the North Pole?
The atmosphere.
Radioactive.
Yeah, who said atmosphere? Oh, Ed. Okay, right. We forget about the atmosphere. The atmosphere is not part of the vegetable kingdom. The atmosphere is still part of the mineral kingdom. And it's very ephemeral, yet it's very important for the life of the whole body. And it's very related to kind of a blend between heaven and earth, kind of like the crown center. That's my guess on the crown center. Anybody else got any other guess on that?
No, interestingly, Tidbits, which is a local newspaper, is dedicated to the atmosphere this week, all about the stratosphere, the ionosphere, the different parts of the atmosphere, and the weight of the atmosphere. And it's a very fascinating article on that very subject, the atmosphere.
I keep hearing the word tidbits. What is that? Some type of site or what?
No, it's a local newspaper that advertises tidbits of information, a little bit like your paper, Food for Thought.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
You can get it at the barber shop or the senior center.
Yeah.
Hey, Jay?
Yeah.
What did you say the heart center was again?
Includes all elements that are not metallic or gaseous.
Okay.
That'd be like, I say carbon would be one that comes to mind, and silicon, and so on.
Well, the highest center I would think would be your radioactive elements like uranium, radium, and
Yeah, that could be a contender for the highest center also, or at least some type of part of that center. Now, keep in mind in the human kingdom, or the human body, you have the center, the top of the head, and within it is a replica of the heart center, and it has 1,000 petals on a tremendous lotus there. So somewhere in that center is probably included the radioactive elements. And so that's quite possible. It fits in there somewhere.
I think so.
Now, we won't go through the other vegetable and animal completely, but I'll just name some categories. Like in the vegetable kingdom, we have grasses, flowers. The most basic would be like plankton and algae. Yeah, okay. Plankton and algae. They're probably form the base of the spine, I'd say. And trees are a very important center, and a lot of people think that might be the heart. DK kind of hints that the grasses and grains are the heart, which I thought was kind of odd. But the tree certainly inspires heart energy. They're related to it somehow. Ferns, fruits, and vegetables that we eat, all these are like different centers. He doesn't name them off, but you can kind of meditate on what centers these might be. Now, in the animal kingdom, he doesn't specify the centers outside of saying that the domestic animals are the Ajna center for the animal kingdom. Okay, so the animals we take in as pets become the Ajna center for the whole animal kingdom. That was the only one he named specifically. But he did give some rays of some of the animals, and the rays are linked to the centers also. Elephants, he said, are on the first ray, so that would be connected to the head center, definitely. Dogs are expression of the heart center, and the heart center, or the second ray, and second ray is related to the heart, and dogs certainly affect your heart. You know, you feel probably more love to your dog than about any other animal that you could ever have. And it's because the dog is so doggone dedicated. May not be that smart, but he's sure dedicated to you if you treat him right.
Dog is man's best friend.
Yeah, right. And cat is on the third ray, which makes a lot of sense. Third ray is more related to matter and down to earth stuff. Okay, and the cat is like a no nonsense animal. The horse is on the sixth ray. That makes a lot of sense, and that would be connected to the solar plexus, because the horse really stirs emotions, and owners that have a relationship with the horses, they really feel a strong emotional link with a horse. But that's the ones he gives just for, he was just kind of throwing those things out. And there's a lot of other animals out there that could be linked to the various centers. So a guy can kind of play around with these, kind of thinking of where the centers in the animal kingdom are, like dolphins probably play a role somewhere. Fish, the fish kingdom as a whole. Yeah. And so, okay, we'll go through one more, and then next week we'll go on the hierarchy. But the 7 centers in the human kingdom, represented by 7 gatherings of people. The first center is London. It's on the 5th and 7th rays, and it's represented by the sign of Gemini. The second, and he doesn't say which center it represents, but it's quite possible London might, well, I don't know if that'd be the first or not. No first ray energy there. Second is New York, and it's on, its personality is on the 2nd ray, its soul is on the 3rd. Third is Tokyo, and its personality is on the 6th ray, its soul is on the 4th, and it's related to Cancer. 4th is Geneva, Switzerland, and its personality is on the 1st ray, and its soul is on the 2nd ray. You've been to Geneva, haven't you, Curtis?
I lived there for 6 months.
Now, since you're a Leo, and the soul of Geneva is connected to Leo, you probably had a attraction to Geneva.
Yeah, I did. I love Geneva. It had a big, they call it the Jet d'eau, it was a great big jet of water coming out of the Lake Geneva, and it wasn't far from the Matterhorn. And we made a trip to the Matterhorn again. Well, after they found out we traveled there, they shut that part of it down. But I love Geneva. The people are friendly, open, intelligent. A lot of fire in Geneva. I loved it. They build the best watches in Geneva. High technology.
And then the next center is the smallest in population, but it's Darjeeling, and it's on the 2nd ray personality and 5th ray Scorpio. So that's interesting. Then there's 2 more, he said, haven't developed yet. That would probably represent the Ajna Center and the Crown Center. And this one will be in Africa. The next one will be somewhere in Africa, he says, will be a powerful center that will be gathered. And then the final one will be in Australia. But these final two centers have not yet materialized yet, are to come, and they'll be connected with the sixth race and the seventh race. We're in the fifth race right now, and so that's why there's 5 centers open at the present time. Okay, next we're going to go into the hierarchy and how they're divided up into 7 groups, as also and also molecular division. So that's going to be quite interesting. So we'll do that next week. We'll leave it off there. Is there any comments or questions before we wrap it up?
You mentioned a center, one of the centers developing in Africa. From looking at this group, I'd have to say at this point, yeah, Nigeria.
Yeah. He says, he made an interesting point about Africa. He says the time will come when a lot of the lights will incarnate into Africa and give the white supremacists a big run for their money. You know, basically his way, what he said was that, in other words, there's what the lights of the planet do when they incarnate is they look to see where the opportunity is. If the opportunity is with one race, a lot of them will incarnate there, and then they'll move on to another race and so on, or another country. They look to see where the opportunity is. Now the Dark Brothers do the same thing. They look to see where their opportunity is to do the most damage to the Brotherhood of Light, and they will focus their energies there. For instance, after 9/11, they focused their energies a lot in terrorism. And but Brotherhood of Light does the same thing. They look to see where the opportunity is, and they don't look on people as being inferior or superior. They look on each one of us as just being people, and an opportunity to come down where there is an opportunity to make a difference and to promote greater freedom and spiritual evolution. For
Well,
instance,
there was a couple black guys that gave the white supremacists a run for their money.
yeah,
Jesse Owens in the Olympics, 33 Olympics,
yeah,
whatever. And the baseball player, who was that black baseball player that?
Jackie Robinson.
Jackie
Yeah.
Robinson. Yeah.
Now, when there was slavery, a lot of the Brotherhood of Light didn't want to incarnate into being a slave because they couldn't really do very much. So that's one of the reasons the slaves had a hard time setting themselves free, is who wanted to incarnate as a slave unless they had to because of their karma. But after the slaves are free, right now, we're having some very intelligent people incarnate into the black race compared to when they were slaves, because there's more opportunity there to advance them. So that's where they look at. Sometimes they may focus among the Asians, among the whites, among the American Indian probably will have their day where they will do great things again, as they did in the ancient past. But so that's interesting to contemplate. Now think of yourself as a intelligent being that's pretty free of karma, and you can incarnate in any situation you want. So you're looking at your next life. So you look to see where the opportunity is, and other intelligent beings that are fairly free from karma have a lot the same idea. And that happened at the foundation of America when we had a gathering of people that created our Constitution and a better system of more free system of government. It's amazing the intelligent people that were all gathered in one spot You know, just Benjamin Franklin alone he was super intelligent. He come up with all kinds of inventions. And Jefferson was very intelligent, and they weren't all perfect men, but they were all very extremely intelligent men. You read all their letters, and it was definitely, before that happened, these intelligent people looked down and they thought, oh, there's going to be a great opportunity to do something good down there. So they incarnated there. And then maybe 100 years later, a similar type of group maybe would incarnate in just totally different circumstances, different race, different type of people, maybe different genders. They look for the opportunity rather than what they're going to look like, or how rich they're going to be, or that type of thing. They look for
They're called the goodly company that incarnates collectively from time to time.
And there's and there's probably people in this group that incarnated just to be in this group. Who knows?
Yeah, I think that's all of us. Here we are, finally gathering again.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments or questions before we wrap it up?
I was thinking about the heart center of the earth. I read it somewhere that a mountain in Iceland was the heart center of the earth, and the root center is in Australia.
You think it's there right now?
I think it's right that the heart center is in Iceland. Yeah.
Oh, Iceland, you think? Okay. Well, you guys got a lot of heart there. I sure liked your group of Monsters and Men. It was one of my favorite groups. Are you familiar with them? Yeah,
not so much.
Yeah, they're a great group, great singing group. But anyway, okay, anything else?
Have a great week.
Well, we're happy to have you, and a really good group, and we had 25 people here today, enough for a molecule.
Yeah. 26 people.
So happy full moon, everybody.
Oh yeah, we had a full moon
Light,
yesterday.
love, and light.
Yeah. So
Thank you, everybody.
pick up on that hierarchical energy, you guys.
Our sky was on fire last night. New Plymouth. I'll bet they spent $500,000 on fireworks in this little town.
Boy, same here. I was surprised how many fireworks went off here. I thought it'd be kind of tamed down, but I think people were just pent up and had to let it out.
They're on time. Yeah, they were.
Yeah, we had a lot of fireworks here. It was amazing. And no official fireworks, just individuals setting them up.
Individuals everywhere, every which way, every direction.
Yeah.
Big ones.
Our fireworks were followed by lightning.
Really?
And it was in red, white, and blue lightning. I'd never seen anything like it.
I'll be darned.
It's funny, Rick.
Okay, my friends, we will see you next week at 10 a.m. Sunday, all being well.
Right?
Hey, bye-bye, everybody.
Have a powerful week, everybody.
Thank you all. Bye.
Powerful.
Bye.